Welcome to Ferocious Achiever. I'm James Hepner, founder and CEO of Hepner Results Coaching. We turn successful achievers into high-level achievers, grow their authority, expand their capacity to maximize all of life, and help them create a life that is vibrant and rich no matter the outcome. We help successful people stop the self-sabotage, raise their standards, and participate with unshakable confidence, creating more gains with less strain. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. Stick around to the end of the show where we'll reveal how you can be our next guest in 20 to 25 minutes. Let's go. Hey, listen, when it comes to patience, break it down for us. Like anyone who's in the real estate sector, frankly, anyone who's in the leadership perspective, like people who listen to this podcast, they're a certain level of achiever. This is not their first rodeo. Typically, they've been at this game for a while, right? And so, if you could kind of share a bit of your wisdom when it comes to patience and when it comes to communication, like what can we all do to get beneath the BS? Because I've known you for some time, and the one thing that I really value in who you are as a human is you have this deep desire to get beneath it and get beneath the undertow and just reveal what's there. And the one area that I've seen you really excel in is find how what's there doesn't need to be changed. It's not that it's bad news. It's just we need to get to the raw of it, because if we do, that's where our stability and that's where we base our certainty. Like as an investor, as a business owner, that's where we get our strength from. If we see it for what it is, because if you don't see it for what it is, you're lost. You're not gonna, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss the opportunities. You're just gonna flat out not do well. You're not gonna perform well, right? And so, just in relation to communication and patience, break it down? What can we all do? All of us, a high level investor, a lower level. What can we all do that is essential? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good question. I know when I'm, I know when I'm dealing with people, whether it's investors or clients, I desire to deal with an authentic person. I have too many times over the years ran into people that portray to be somebody that they're not. And I just have no patience for that. And it's everywhere, especially in the age of social media and look at me and all these different things. The older I get and some of the circles that I've been around, some of the organizations that I used to go to, I think you know what I'm talking about. There's just this, I just find myself wanting to not be there. I want to be around people that are authentic and communicate the facts. Especially when it comes to investing in business, when you're working on a deal, when you're looking at buying an asset, whether it's a business, a piece of real estate, you're dealing with a guy across the room, across the table. Give it to me like it is. I don't want puffed up numbers, puffed up performas. Like I can just see through that stuff so quickly.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Today I have with us Matt Cornelson. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, James. Appreciate it. Love it.
Brother, yeah, awesome. And likewise, what an honor, right? When I came into some of your work, and by the way, guests or listeners, Matt is a real estate investor. And the thing I like most about Matt is he does some really high level deals, but he stays authentic and that he never walks away from helping people at all levels. He helps people at like $100,000 deals. It goes up to 10 million plus. Matt, if you could share with the audience, what exactly is it that you do? If you could just lay it out, share at a high level, what it is that you do.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for having me. And so I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I'm a real estate agent here in Calgary, both on the residential side and the commercial side. So loving that, doing that. Also, one of the things that we're working on the side is we're setting up a real estate fund for multifamily real estate. So we're playing on the investment side, but we're also dealing on the sales side as well. So my background goes all the way back to Winnipeg, but I moved to Calgary 4 years ago. And anyway, that's what we do in Calgary. So we're having fun doing that. Like you said, on the bigger deals, all the way down to the smaller deals, we like to execute there and just meet needs at every level along the way. So yeah, that's the short version.
I love it. Curious, what has
Yes.
you stay aligned with supporting people regardless of level? Like you could very easily at this point in life say, I'm not doing that small deal stuff, but you stay there. What is it that keeps you there and keeps you humble, perhaps?
Well, I guess I should, say as well, like when we moved from Winnipeg to Calgary just a few years ago, you kind of, when you make a big move like that, you've got to go back before, one guy said years ago in a podcast I was listening to, said, sometimes you got to go left before you go right. So moving into a brand new market, and especially in commercial real estate, which is where a lot of the Winnipeg business happened, that's a hard thing to crack. You really got to know a lot of people. It's a very exclusive kind of place to invest and play. So what do? You start kind of back with the residential again. You start back with the houses and you just start working that again and building your way up and make, connections and relationships with the goal of eventually getting back to commercial real estate, which is really where I'd rather be. The numbers, the bigger the numbers, the bigger the, the play, right? So, but yeah, it can be humbling going back before you go up again, right? So,
well, let's go back. Tell us your
yeah.
origin story. Just fill us in.
Yeah.
Who were you back in the day?
Short version.
Version, and then who you are today. Like, please spare us no detail, 2-3 minutes. But just play with us here and just give us this Matt, who the Matt was then, who the Matt is now.
So years ago, my family comes from a background of construction, working hard on the tools, all that kind of stuff. So in my teenage years, I grew up working for my dad, doing condos, apartments. We did a lot of concrete work in the dead of winter. I remember one day sitting with my dad on his end gate at the end of the day, and I said, Dad, there's got to be a better way to make money. Why are you killing yourself with the tools in the dead of winter? There's got to be a better way. And then my dad reaches out. Well, there's a couple of days goes by after that, and he says, Matt, it's time for you to read this book. So he hands over Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Everybody probably knows that book, Robert Kiyosaki, Assets and Liabilities. And I grabbed that book, ran home, and I pounded through this thing within a day. And just a light bulb went off. That's it. You got to buy real estate, or you got to build business to buy real estate and get cash flowing assets. And so I went to my wife that day and I said, or a few days later, and I said, look, I said, we got to get our finances ordered. Money was tight. I said, I think we got to buy some real estate. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, fortunately, we owned our first home at that point. So we leveraged up, we took equity out of it. I know maybe that's not always the best financial advice, and this isn't financial advice, but that's what we did. We pulled equity out. I think we bought our first rental property, 15 grand down. I think cash flowed $600 a month. You're pulling in 8 grand a year on this thing on a $15,000 investment. Plus, the equity pay down and some internal rates of return. And I was just like, holy smokes, this is incredible. So we did that again and again and again. And, eventually you bump into people, you start networking and you start meeting commercial investors. And, that's a whole nother story. However, with the starting small, like we kind of talked about earlier, often starting small and taking on the things that maybe you don't want to do will lead to the bigger thing anyway. Kind of be faithful with the little, be faithful with much kind of thing. And so we ended up connecting with some commercial investors and started doing some property management for some of these guys. Next thing you know, the conversation starts. Hey, Matt, you want to own some commercial real estate? Have you ever thought of that? I said, no, never thought of that. It takes, to own multi-million-dollar real estate, you often need multi-million-dollar down payments. Where am I going to get the down payments? So there comes the creativity in financing and vendor take backs, which is extremely common in commercial real estate. And he opened the door for me and it put X amount down, financed the rest with a contingency that I had to pay him out within 3 to 4 years. By year 3, we had him paid out and appraised that property at more than almost 3 times what we paid for it. And so again, light bulb after light bulb just starts going off and away we go. And that led us to, kind of an investing journey in real estate and creating that passive income. So what was the last part of your question there? I know you wanted me to segue back into something there, but that's kind of the long and short of, my past and kind of how we got to today.
I absolutely love it. That's fantastic. One of the things that stands out for me as you go through in language and bring to the surface the things that your life's been about, at a certain level, and I know listeners are picking up on this, you have a pristine way of communicating at a high level, right? And so I think what it takes, tell me what you think. I think in order to be open to what someone else is propositioning and saying, perhaps you want to look at, for in your eyes, it was commercial at the time,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be a good listener. And I think in order to be a good communicator, you have to listen really well. And so that whole listening concept, and even now as you lay it forward, you can, we can hear that, one of the things that you obviously have kind of squirreled around, and your persona is like this, to listen to what's really behind it all. And I think what you're constantly doing is you're listening to how it is that you might want to be open. You might not understand, but you're open. And so communication, I think, is always staying in that open place. Share with us, if you don't mind, a story, because I think we're all curious where you really struggle to be open, or maybe you want to share a story of where you were so open, where you perhaps you jumped the bit, you got at it a little too quick. And I don't know if it's anxious money or you're striving towards something. Like,
Yeah.
share a moment or two in your life.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember too, years ago, kind of along this journey, and remember there was a season there where I really relied on a few people in my life for advice and counsel on investing and different things. And remember at one point I was sitting on a lot of money, just waiting to deploy into investing. And a guy walked into my office and we were chatting, good friend of mine. He actually owns real estate around us. He owns some buildings around me as well. We got to know each other, and really nice guy, really trusted him, and a little bit naive, maybe I was back then, but he says, Matt.
Well, aren't we all to some degree naive consistently? Yeah. But I hear what you're
even
saying.
At 43, man, that guy just never stops learning ever. Right? Let's be honest. But this guy walks in, and we were just talking investing. He says, Matt, did you see the oil market? See how far down they are? You can get oil stocks now at 20 cents on the dollar, 10 cents on the dollar. And I was getting a little bit antsy sitting on all this capital and just not finding the right opportunity, being really patient. Well, in comes impatience. And so I bought into that, and I went all in on some of this investing in the stock market. And I paid a heavy price. That day. And what it taught me is the importance of patience, patient money, and anything really, whether it's securing a new tenant on a long-term lease, whether it's a restaurant or it's a, retail this or a lawyer or any type of tenant situation, man, it just taught me to slow down, be patient, because I lost a lot of money in that transaction within a day. We're talking a lot, and that's just due to inexperience and patience, and just just not being patient. And so that was a really hard day for me. I remember coming home that day going to my wife, and how was your day? Everything's on top of the world, and man, I had to tuck my tail between my legs and sit down and let her know what happened. And that was tough. But man, we battled through and got through that. So I can give you many stories of some of the downs along the way, with a lot of ups and really good things, but patience was a real thing that I learned that day.
Why don't we drill down a little deeper into that patience thing? When I think about in today's marketplace, like, what are you seeing in relation to trends, business, leadership? Where are you beginning to become aware that the impatience that you displayed is actually at the heart of what most achievers want to avoid? And I think what I'm saying is, to some degree, impatience is something that we have to experience, meaning we pull the trigger a little too quick. I'll never forget one of the first businesses that I owned. It was in the capital hot seat. The first million I had on my account felt really nice, and the second, third felt even better. And my wife was pregnant with her first at the time, and I really wanted to buy this new car. And I went to the dealership, and I remember I was a young kid, like 23, 24 years old. And the guy looked at me and said, do you need financing? And I said, no, I can just pay cash. And I felt really brave saying that, right? and so he said, would you like to take it for a drive? I said, sure. So I took it for a test drive. I took it home, and my wife is having a little rest. It's in the middle of the afternoon. She's having a little sleep. And I wake her because I was so impatient. I couldn't help but show her. And I said, hey, baby, you got to come out and take a look. Would you like to go for a drive? She goes, oh, I'm just really tired, but I'll come and take a look. And then she came out and she stepped into the car, and she goes, oh, this is nice. And I said, would you like to go for a drive? She goes, honey, I'm not feeling really well. And I said, I'm thinking of buying this thing. She goes, well, can we talk about it later? I said, it's such a great deal. And she goes, honey, do whatever you got to do. I feel really pukey. I got to go back inside. So what did I do? I go back to the dealership
Yeah.
and I pay
Yeah.
the thing, cut a check and I pay for it,
Yeah.
right? So in relation to like
Yeah.
business, industry, trends, what are you seeing when it comes to impatience, and how do people kind of get caught there? And also maybe how are they too hard on themselves after they've experienced it?
Good question. Yeah, when I think about, because I'm in the real estate space, and I think over the last 2 years, we've all seen in Canada, and I think really around the world, with interest rates being as low as they have been, the money just pouring into real estate, and people riding that wave of it's going to go up forever, and that impatient money just pours in, and all of a sudden now we're in this tightening cycle where a lot of people are going, they're down 10% on their money or on their asset that they bought. You know what I mean? That instant gratification where you just go for it and everybody's doing it, so I got to do it. And I'm just seeing a lot of that in this industry. But in our industry specifically too, and I got to think about Calgary in this market specifically. Calgary is in a really interesting, unique spot, or this market. There's a lot of people moving here right now, and they're wondering, is now the time to buy, Matt? Is now the time to wait? Do I, or what are prices going to be like next week? Nobody knows the future. But I think that, I saw a lot of impatience in this industry over the last 2 years. Even for myself as an investor, there was so many times in the last year and a half, I guess we've only been back about a year now, but even for us as investors, as a group, we have come so close to pulling the trigger on real estate, but there was a gut check in me that said, wait, there's better opportunities coming. When the girl at the Sobeys is bagging your groceries and saying, hey, Matt, I'm thinking about buying real estate today. I'm buying an investment property. It's like, whoa, hold off. Smart money's patient. It holds back. It waits. Even if it has to wait longer than one would like. That's the strategy that we're using as a group here. And we're being very patient, especially with those experiences that I had, not only with the oil stocks and some other experience that I've had. It just really taught me, man, that discipline of just being patient and just holding off and delay that gratification. And how awesome and sexy would that be to own that 12-unit apartment block right now? Yeah, but what if you can get it for less? I know guys even here in our market, man, they pulled the trigger on multifamily real estate or any commercial asset even just 8 months ago. At 2 to 3% money. Now that money is 6%. They've lost those assets. The pricing of the market is adjusting to itself now, right? All asset prices are readjusting its price and its value, and I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing opportunity now. Although maybe a little bit tougher to find, but just patience, just get ready. And so that's kind of what I think. But I hope I answered your question right there.
Love it. That's awesome.
Properly, but
well, back to what you said earlier, sometimes you have to go left before you can go right. So you said, hopefully I got the question right. Perhaps you go
that's
left.
exactly right.
You nailed it. Dead center. It's complete. Awesome. Fantastic. Hey, listen, when it comes to patience, break it down for us. Like anyone who's in the real estate sector, frankly, anyone who's in the leadership perspective, like people who listen to this podcast, they're a certain level of achiever. This is not their first rodeo. Typically, they've been at this game for a while, right? And so if you could kind of share a bit of your wisdom when it comes to patience and when it comes to communication, like what can we all do to get beneath the BS? Because I've known you for some time, and the one thing that I really value in who you are as a human is you have this deep desire to get beneath it and get beneath the undertow and just reveal what's there. And the one area that I've seen you really excel in is find how what's there doesn't need to be changed. It's not that it's bad news. It's just we need to get to the raw of it, because if we do, that's where our stability and that's where we base our certainty, like as an investor, as a business owner. That's where we get our strength from. If we see it for what it is, because if you don't see it for what it is, you're lost. You're not gonna, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss the opportunities. You're just gonna flat out not do well. You're not gonna perform well, right? And so, just in relation to communication and patience, break it down? What can we all do? All of us, a high level investor, a lower level. What can we all do that is essential But
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. I know when I'm, I know when I'm dealing with people, whether it's investors or clients, I desire, for me, I desire to deal with an authentic person.
mm,
I have
mm,
too many times over the years ran into people that portray to be somebody that they're not. And I
mm,
just have no patience for that. And it's
mm,
everywhere, especially in the age
mm,
of social media
mm,
and look at me and all these different things.
mhm,
I just, the older I get and some of the circles that I've been around, some of the organizations that I used to go to,
mm,
I think you know what I'm talking about. There's
mhm,
just this, I just find myself wanting to not be there. I want to be
mm,
around people that are authentic
mm,
and communicate the facts.
mm,
Especially when
mhm,
it comes to investing and in business, when you're working on a deal, when you're looking at buying an asset, whether it's a business, a piece of real estate, you're dealing with a guy across the room, across the table. Give it to me like it is. I don't want puffed up numbers, puffed up performas. Like I can just see through that stuff so quickly because really at the end of the day, I think we can learn something from anybody that we're dealing with. I don't care if you're up here or you're, down here. Um, but having that, I know too, as investors, as business owners, as we're looking at opportunities, um, I want the facts. I want to just cut right to it. I don't want puffed up performas and future this and future that. No. Give it
mm,
to me right now. What is going
mm,
on here?
mhm,
I don't want to hear anything else. And just having that, that discipline, I guess,
mm,
just to wait for that and to
mm.
want that. And but again, I just have no desire for short talk, man. I love to talk about you and what's going on deep within you on any level. And just tell me your story. I want to hear about it so I can learn from it because I've hit some hard spots in my life, made some bad decisions. So maybe there's something that you can tell me that I can just glean anything from because I can't afford to make any more mistakes.
So if I
And
could ask you a personal
yeah,
question, is that okay?
love it.
So honestly, how do you
Yes.
feel right now? Like I'm asking you questions because this
Yeah.
is about you. Like
Yeah.
this is different. The tables are turned, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel? Can you wait for us to just
Mm,
chat after the show and you get to ask me about my like what comes up for
mm,
you in a moment like this? Because we're
yeah.
focusing on you, right?
I know. I know. Because man, it's like I would love to just dial into you right now because I know that there's a lot there. There's a lot that that I would just love to know. But patience. It's not
Oh,
it's not about that right now,
so
right?
good.
So
So
but
good.
I actually have, I know, just on a little, side note, I'm doing some coaching right now for
Yeah.
the Calgary Royals, which is kind of an elite level hockey
Mm,
organization
mm,
here in Calgary. Got invited in,
mm,
no experience, no idea, don't know the X's and O's, haven't been there before. But he's like, Matt, head coach, he's like, Matt, you're not here to do the X's and O's. I want you to be a mentor to these kids.
wow,
Like a
incredible.
lot of these don't have
Incredible.
fathers and dads and
Hmm.
high level, dude. We're talking 10, 20 grand just to play hockey. And maybe
Hmm.
you'll make the team and maybe you won't.
Hmm.
But I love being in that environment now because I get a chance to ask and meet all these new people and the kids and just ask questions and just glean insight and then come back and just take that and meditate on it. And just, like I just love that, man. I just love meeting the new people and just diving in. I know this doesn't really touch on patience, but we're talking about people, we're talking about business situations to coaching hockey to anything. I love to just ask a lot of questions because honestly, it'll save you a lot of heartache anyway. It'll save you from loss and bad decisions and you'll just glean stuff. So that's kind of the nut, kind of my few thoughts on that. So
Well,
anyway, yeah.
sometimes people talk about that life's linear, and we can
Mhm.
clearly see your example all over again. Life is circular. So
Oh
you started
man.
off in Winnipeg, asking questions, being curious, being open, and that allowed you to see certain things. And
Yeah.
throughout that, of course, that whole journey,
Yeah.
it's enabled you to communicate that curiosity, people, and we feel it off of you, and it's
Right.
just beautiful. Like, I absolutely love it. Matt, if you could, in your own words, how would you describe what a healthy, helpful, and beneficial ferocious achiever is, what they participate with in order to be a truly benefit for the greater good? How would you language that?
Mm. You know what? When I think about a ferocious achiever, I think about somebody that's a servant first.
Mm.
They're always there to serve others
Mm.
and to lead.
Mm.
And
Man, you're making me choke up here because
man,
true.
it's, it's just, and it's something that I'm still learning,
Mm.
as you get in these certain situations and people kind of look to you for answers or whatever it is. It's like, man, these people are really relying on me for a direction here. And so you've got to lead and you got to serve and you got to, I think too, like, I know over the years, I just always haven't put other people first,
Mm.
and I think that's, when you're in your 20s and your 30s, we've talked about this. It's really all about accumulation and you and bigger this and bigger that. And as you grow older and as you get into your 40s, early 40s, and you start getting up there, you start to realize it's not all about me, right? It just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who cares? What are you doing for the people around you? How are you influencing those around you? Whether it's your hockey players, your investors, your
Beautiful.
kids, your wife, everybody's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think being an achiever, if you want to achieve, if you really want to get to that next level, then it's got to start with putting others first, in any situation, if that makes sense.
And if you don't mind me asking, how is it that you can put other people first? What kind of inner work did you have to do to put yourself first so that you could put other people first? And so there's two firsts, and they're not at odds with each other. It's not a competitive play.
Right.
Right. You can only be the gift and give the gift if you have embraced the gift. You have to love yourself. You have to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know some of the coaching that, we've worked together a little bit on some coaching and stuff, and that's really helped me just dial in, just dealing with that tension that we all have. We're all wrestling with stuff, right? But being absolutely okay with it. And it's meant to be there. It's okay. And man, yeah, it's that inner work, right? That you have to do in order to be grounded and understand that when those situations arise, whether there's pressure, whether, whatever it is, it's just staying grounded and just staying true to yourself and just modeling that, man. And I think too, all the ups and the downs that you go through in life, especially the downs, they really humble you. Really? Like they really do. They just knock you down and they go, wow, you're really not, you got a bit of a blind, whatever, but they really cause you to just go, okay, back to the inside. What do I need to do differently here so I can respond better to that next time? Because if you're always on the mountaintop, man, pride can set in real fast, right? And you don't care about others. Who cares? Who cares about him? Look at me. Look at all of what I made. But you get whacked a few times, you start to go, okay, what can I learn here so that I can maybe help somebody else avoid that exact same situation, whether it's investing or anything else. So this is some of the things that come to mind when you ask that.
I love it. Isn't it so interesting how life, whether we like it or not, whether we cue it up or not, it'll humble us no matter what. It just happens. No matter what, whether we have patience or we have more impatience, too quick, too slow, whatever it ends up being, life is going to have its way, and it's going to show us that actually we are best when we're about average.
Right.
So I know a lot of people listening to this, we often we're leaders. And I think being a really good leader is someone who considers himself not mediocre, but about average. Because if ever you buy into the fact that I'm at the highest level, if you ever buy into that stuff, as soon as something doesn't go well for you, what's going to happen? It's going to shatter you. Right.
Totally.
And so you bought your role so deep, and really we're souls. We're not just role people. We have a soul. And if we function from a place of soul, it's like, actually, what is my superpower? Yours is communication. I think all of our, all of our collective humanity's goal, or the highest level of achievement, is that we say our superpower is we get to be about average. We're just another human being. Like I'm just a person. You're just a person. We have the ability to make mistakes, to have gains, to have losses. It is what it ends up being. And the good news, and I like the way you queued that up. Your strength is found where? Not out there. It's found in here. It's found in the heart,
totally.
it's found in the mind. When
Yeah.
these two things work together, and you can not have that tension explode outward when something
Yeah.
nasty happens, but you feel it, and then you feel your expansion. Holy smokes, the expansion is where the ascension happens, like where you experience another level. Enough about me. Final round, Matt. This is
Yeah.
your final round of wisdom.
Love it.
If you could lay it all down in a sentence or two, what would you most want people to never forget when they are gunning towards an achievement? So people, they set this goal, hockey players, your kids, your wife, investors, what would you want people never to forget? Lay it down in a sentence or two.
Sentence or two, eh?
Or a paragraph. You can do a paragraph, whatever you like. Or unless you have it in a word or two, if you're that great, you go ahead.
No, you know what first comes to mind when I think about that? And this is, I'm really embedded in sport right now with hockey and coaching.
Good job.
And I think about one of the things that came to my mind when you asked me that was when the puck is in the corner and you're battling for the puck and it's you against that guy and the battle is on, right? It's such a I don't know if it's a metaphor, what's the right word, or an image of life. When the puck is in the corner and you're battling for that puck, you better come out of that corner with that puck, right? That's the idea. You don't get outworked. You don't get outplayed. If you do, you go back to the drawing board, figure out what you did wrong, get back in that corner, and you battle for the puck, and you don't leave the corner without the puck. So when I think about business, when I think about maybe it's your marriage, I don't care what it is, just keep battling. And you're going to have losses. You're going to have times where you're going to get outworked or whatever it is. But just understand that's the toss, the tension of life. And, you know, and just keep battling, get back to work, just keep back to work and don't stop. And things are kind of working against you, or it doesn't feel like things are coming as quick as you want or as fast as you want. Patience sets in, you go back to work, drill down what you need to work on, and you go back in that corner and you battle for the puck, or you battle for that business, you battle for your investors, you battle for your kids. I don't care what it is. So that's what comes to mind is just keep working, just keep battling when it makes no sense at all. Do it anyway. Just keep pushing anyway. Eventually those results will come and you'll start to see light, and then, you know, expansion happens and things start to open up for you. So those are my final thoughts on that, man. I love it. Yeah. So there you go.
There's so much wisdom. There's no way you can get that in a sentence or two. So thanks for
Yeah,
expanding on that. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. You know, the thing that I love about that final cue up, you know, oftentimes when people are into this achieving place, they talk about the grind, you know, like just grinding it out and just like, you know, and so I hear what you're talking about. And to me, what it resonates is it's less about the grind. It's more about, like you say, the common sense approach to life. Like your understanding of communication. To get beneath, we got to be common sense. Like, what's the common sense thing to do? If you go into the corner and you go for the puck, you want to come out with the puck. There's nothing wrong with saying, I want to come out with this. You got to have a focal point. I love that. It's just getting beneath it all. So Matt, where can people find you? People out there, and also people are going to wanting to, you know, be connecting with you. And I encourage all of you guys to go and look up Matt. Matt, where can people find you? And just throw it down for us.
Throw it down. Yeah. So, you know, social media, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, you know, place like you just dial in my name, Matt Cornelson, Real Estate. So you know, it's all all my social media platforms, and even website are real estate related. So, Calgary Realestate Group.ca is a website to go to. But again, it's really dialed in for real estate. But you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, all those places, and dial me up there. Love to have some more followers and people to interact with. And, you know, even for myself too, I'm starting to shoot some video and some content, and
good job.
I'm trying to just, you know, just get things out. I find that doing these recordings and shooting video, and it's just a nice way, a nice outlet to get your information and your insight, and even things that you're struggling with, just get it out. So anyway, you can follow me there, and love to see you there. Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll post in the show notes below. So folks, go to his LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch. I'm just kidding. I have no idea where you go. Yeah. Probably something. Anyway, so it was awesome. Thank you for being on. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. I really honor and I respect you. And I just wanted to shine a light on what you do, because I think you're an incredible human being. And I see you, my friend. We see you the tensions that you've gone through. I mean, you shared a few of them. There's a lot of highs, there's some lows in your life. And the incredible thing is here you are and you're letting it all teach you. And so it's like, I think that's common sense. You let life teach you. It's beautiful. So thanks for being on the show, Matt.
Thanks, man. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Awesome. See ya.
Yeah. James Hepner here. Thank you so much for listening to Ferocious Achiever. If you are a successful owner, founder, C-suite executive, or CEO who would like to be on this program, please visit us at www.ferociousachiever.com. Near the top of the page, you'll see our Ferocious Achiever lion logo. And right next to the lion logo, to the right-hand side, you'll see a little blue box that when you scroll over top and click on it, it'll take you directly to that guest booking page. Now, if you got something out of this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Or send it via email or text? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media or send them an email or a text. Let them know about the show and include the hashtag Ferocious Achiever. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions, so please don't be shy. Now, we regularly put new content, new episode out, and we do this consistently. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, reviews, those things all go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. You want to know more? Simply go to the website www.jameshepner.com or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. And here's something that you don't want to miss. If you want to stop the self-sabotage, you want to raise your standards and participate with unshakable confidence, you will want to take the Maximize Your Life quiz now, found at www.jameshepner.com/quiz. By taking this little quiz, you will discover exactly where you're making your life unnecessarily difficult and exactly where your behaviors are cutting you off from the outcomes and goals you crave most. Your quiz results will pinpoint with precise accuracy the exact areas to focus on. This will immediately activate your ability to use your time and resources effectively and instantly set you on your path to create higher level gains with less strain. Why not get down to the base and discover the truth about what's controlling your life right now? I challenge you, take a few minutes. You owe it to yourself. You're worth it, and your experience of life depends on it. Give yourself the gift by honoring yourself and taking 5 minutes to invest in yourself. Take the Maximize Your Life quiz now. Again, found at www.jameshepner.com/quiz. And finally, set yourself on the path that will lead you directly to what you want and need most now. Until next time, peace out, rock up.